Hi learners, and welcome to this lesson on common fractions. Now before we go into the lesson on addition and subtraction of these fractions, we need to look at two terms, right? The first term is proper fractions and the second term is improper fractions. And we can see that one should be the inverse of the other or the opposite of the other. So a proper fraction, remember you have a fraction and it's a over b, right, in both instances. But we say that a fraction is a proper fraction when the numerator, when a is less than the denominator. So the opposite will be an improper fraction, a is greater than the denominator. What is an example of this? An example of this will be 1 over 2. Right? The simplest. 1 is smaller than 2. An improper fraction would be, for example, 3 over 2, where the denominator is smaller than the numerator. So in this case, the numerator is smaller than the denominator, and in this case, the numerator is larger than the denominator. And that's proper and improper fractions. Now, we have two examples on the board, addition and subtraction of fractions. How do we do that? Now, the way to do that is you find the lowest common multiple, right? We learned about this. We learned about LCM. So we're finding the lowest common multiple, right? Multiple meaning you're counting in those numbers and which one is common in both. Now, I'm going to teach you a really quick rule that you might know or you might not know. And all you really need to do is multiply the two denominators together. So for example, 5 times 2 is 10. So I should have a number over 10 plus a number over 10. Right? And the same thing with subtraction. What is 4 times 7? So this is equal to 4 times 7, which is 28. So you'll have a number over 28 minus a number over 28. Right? Quick rule. Simple. It's almost like a cheat rule. So once we have those two, we can now find out what are the numbers that go on the top. So what's the numerator? So 5 times 2 is 10. So what I do to the denominator, I need to do to the numerator. So 3 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 5 is 10. So 1 times 5 is 5. Can you see that? Whatever you do to the denominator, you must do to the numerator. More often than not, it's the opposite. So if this denominator is 2, then you're multiplying by 2. If this denominator is 5, you're multiplying by 5. Now I can add them because they have the same denominator. It's hard to add them when they do not have the same denominator. So here, 6 plus 5 is 11 over 10. I can't simplify it because there's no common factor between the two. 11 can only be divided by 1 and itself, right? So here, this is the simplest form of my fraction, right? So it's quite simple. Let's do subtraction. What times 4 is 28? Remember, if this is 7, it's going to be times 7 times 7. If this is 4, it's going to be times 4 times 4. Can you see how much simpler it is if you're using those rules? So we already have 28. 3 times 7 is 21. 6 times 4 is 24. Can you see that? This is going to be equal to a negative number because 21 minus 24 is minus. So 21 minus 24 is minus 3 over 28. Okay, So that is how we work with the common fractions. Now, when we work with common fractions, we need to look at all of the variables that we have. Remember, we're looking for the LCM. So make sure you look for that in your examples or your videos, and look at the lesson on LCM just to refresh your memory. So complete your book on addition and subtraction, and I will see you in the next lesson.